You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 53. Today on Self Saturdays, I am breaking the ice. I'm ripping off that Band-Aid and I'm sharing 8 things that I'm afraid to tell you all. So let's be gentle. Let's create a space where we can be real with each other, sans judgment. So grab yourself a cup of organic tea, get comfy, and without further ado, let's get to it. You are listening to Love Unplugged, a podcast focused on love in all its forms. I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, hopeful romantic and founder of Project Love. I found that too often love is set aside or taken for granted, and we tend to forget how to care for ourselves and our important relationships in the day-to-day chaos. So let's slow down, tune in, and begin our journey of rediscovering love. From honest heart-to-heart conversations with real couples and knowledgeable guests to deep dive reviews of new products and services that will help you feel beautiful inside and out. If you're looking for relatable advice or wanting to be inspired by real-life love stories, you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get to it. Hello, loves. I am so happy to have you back for another Self Saturdays episode with me. Today, I've decided to go all in. So as you know, I definitely struggle with sharing personal aspects of myself with anybody. And these episodes, the Self Saturday series, has definitely been something that's been uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and it's very nerve-wracking sharing personal aspects with people, especially when you don't know them on a personal level. But today, I've decided to go all in. I figure if you're going to do something, just go all out, bear it all. And I got the inspiration from Jess Lively's podcast, The Lively Show, and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a perfect way to bear it all and get over this fear of sharing, hopefully, by just kind of letting it all out and giving you guys a deeper look into what I'm afraid the general public will know about me. I think it's definitely an important step in connecting on a deeper level when we're able to open up and share things that we're afraid to let others know about ourselves. But before we start, I want to share that today I'm not drinking tea, unfortunately. I am drinking a glass of wine. I'm not going to lie. It is evening here, so it's not the morning time, so don't worry about that. But I am diffusing one of my favorite essential oils, Pacific. It's a blend from Vitruvi and has bergamot in it, which is what drew me to it the most, just because I love bergamot in general. I think it smells so good. And I love Earl Grey tea as well. It's one of my favorites. So it's definitely really nice to have diffusing, especially in the evenings. I enjoy it the most. All right. So the first thing that I'm afraid to tell you, and I'm going to start small here just to get things going, is that I color coordinate my Smarties before I eat them. Then I eat them in the order of whichever colors have the most Smarties until there is one color of each left. Now, I know that makes me sound a little crazy. I don't know why I do this. I get made fun of all the time. I have shared it, I think, once or maybe twice on my Instagram stories, but hopefully people didn't really catch on to what I was doing. People definitely think it's weird, and for some reason, I find comfort in it. Somehow it makes it more interesting to eat when they're all organized. Okay, wait a minute. I just realized, now talking about this and saying organized, that I do it because it's organization. I don't know why this just clued in. I mean, organization is so ingrained in me that I just do it unintentionally, and it definitely brings calm. So that makes so much more sense as to why I organize my food before I eat it. And this isn't the only thing that I organize before I eat as well. And that will be an episode for another day, but today it's all about the Smarties. I've always been an organization freak. I mean, even when I'm stressed out and I need a break, which is generally when I eat chocolate. I don't eat it all the time otherwise. So I guess eating chocolate and organization helps me kind of de-stress and find some calm. I mean, I've always said that I'm exactly like Monica from Friends. And I guess now it's somehow a bit more true than I thought. So do any of you organize or sort anything before you eat it? Am I the only one that does this? Please leave me a comment, send me a DM and let me know. I definitely hope I'm not the only one, and I hope other people do this as well. But yeah, so that's the first thing. Now, the second thing that I'm afraid to tell you is a little bit weirder. It's not huge either, but again, taking it step by step here. But I do not touch my nose. So let me be clear here, I or anybody else is not allowed to touch my nose. I hate it. Just the thought of somebody touching the tip of my nose, and it's just kind of like a rubbery, kind of like bouncy feeling. I don't know what it is, but it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I have no idea where it began. Blowing my nose is a total nightmare. I'm not going to lie. I don't blow my nose very often. I avoid it at all costs, and the only time that I will do anything is if I just can't take it anymore. So like in allergy season or something like that, when the air is like full of pollen, or like in the wintertime when it's like super dry and stuff and whatnot, that's when I will do what I need to do to blow my nose. But even then, I don't blow it. So I'm not going to talk about how I blow my nose, but yeah, that's just a whole other level. I hate it. And as you guys know, or maybe see on Instagram stories, I do wear glasses. So the fact that I have something sitting on my nose every freaking second of the day that I am awake drives me bananas. I hate glasses so much, but yeah. Anyway, so that's the second thing. Now I'm going to take it up a notch a little bit. The third thing that I'm afraid to tell you guys is that I struggle with sadness and frustration. I mean, not to the level of like depression, but it is very real. It's not every day, but when it does come on, I do need to cry it out. I think it's just a lot of built up emotion and frustration from when we dealt as a family with a very serious situation in the family, a very serious health situation, and it was extremely difficult to navigate. It was very difficult to go through. I definitely developed a lot of fear and anxiety and stress and worries, and just honestly, I think I definitely developed some PTSD following that situation. It was definitely very traumatic for me and my family to go through. So I still feel a lot of those emotions, and it comes in waves, and it comes and goes. And, on those days, I definitely need to unplug from social media. I need to just do what I need for me. And generally, what I find the most comfort in is taking a nap, sleeping longer hours than I generally would. I always feel better if I'm really upset. I take a nap for an hour or so, and I wake up feeling a lot better. I don't know what it is about sleeping. I'm not quite sure, but it always helps me kind of get through whatever I'm feeling. I will also always watch comfort TV shows. So this is maybe like a hybrid thing that I'm afraid to tell people, but I don't watch a lot of the newer shows. The shows when I do have time to watch TV are the older shows. So things like The Nanny. Yes, I do watch The Nanny. I'm not going to lie. It's on at 9 and 9:30 at night in the PST, so in Vancouver. I don't know what channel it is, but yeah. So I watch that. I will watch Friends, obviously, religiously. Gilmore Girls, obviously. Frasier, I love. Home Improvement, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I have the Saved by the Bell DVDs. Those old school shows, Home Improvement. I love Mad About You, and they have a new series that came out like 10, 20 years later or whatever, and just continues the story. So I love that as well. But any of those old school shows definitely just kind of bring back some comfort and just kind of help me just de-stress. So that is the third thing. The fourth thing that I am afraid to tell you is that I'm extremely hard on myself when it comes to my age and where I'm at in life. So again, this is somewhat due to what we experienced as a family. It definitely, it set me back with what I've wanted to accomplish just because I needed to be there for my family. I needed to put my life on hold. And that was for many years, unfortunately. So being 36, not married, no children yet, type thing is very difficult for me. And it's something that I really struggle with talking about. I definitely see all these people that have achieved so much more by the time that they're my age than where I'm at. And that to me is a huge disappointment and something that I'm trying to navigate regularly, honestly. The fifth thing that I am afraid to tell you is how much I break commitments to myself, but rarely to others. So this has been something that I've been aware of for a while and I've been trying to work on. So I am a people pleaser. I am a go-getter. I'm very goal-driven, but for other people. So if there's an expectation that somebody else has that they need from me, I will meet that deadline, no problem. I will do whatever it takes to meet that deadline, to get things done, to do whatever it takes to meet that expectation. But for me, if I set anything for myself and there's nobody else relying on it but me, I rarely will get that thing done. So with all this new free time and my schedule opening up quite a bit compared to how it usually is, I've had a lot more time for reading. I've had a lot more time for, working on self-development and things like that, putting work into the blog, things like that. But I've had struggles and I'm working on this, so I'm getting a little bit better, but keeping those commitments to myself, showing up for myself, doing what I know I need, but because it's for me, I easily let myself down. I don't know why that is. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of that, but what I've figured out works for me is an accountability partner. So if I have somebody that will help me kind of stick to my goals, that's what I need. Otherwise, I unfortunately will not meet them completely on my own. So when it comes to this business and this blog, having an accountability coach, which I do have, and that's Cassie from Wosh. She has a mentorship program and she helps keep me accountable for things in this space, in the business and the podcast. That helps me tremendously. Otherwise, honestly, I would sit on my butt and I would do nothing. When it comes to fitness or movement, I am trying so hard to get better at that and to take my own initiative and making sure that I schedule it in and I take the time to do it and I try to stick to it. But I'm not going to lie, it's a struggle and it's not something that is like consistent 3-4 times a week. I'll do it once or twice a week, but I do try to stretch because I am working a 9 to 5. So I'm trying to get up from my chair or my desk more regularly and stretching it out and whatnot a little bit more frequently than once or twice a week. So there is that. When it comes to, taking my supplements and my vitamins and a good nutrition, I'm generally good with the food that I eat, but I need constant reminders and something to motivate me to actually be consistent with that. So it's something that in general I struggle with, and I'm trying to figure out what works for me so that I am showing up for myself and I'm staying consistent with whatever goals that I'm setting for myself as best as I can when I can't have an accountability partner helping me along. The sixth thing that I am afraid to tell you is I avoid conflict at all costs. Now, I hate it so much. You have no idea, and I know many people do as well. I have physical body reactions to conflict. Like I sweat like you wouldn't believe. I very, very sensitive, so I will cry. I get super overwhelmed. My face goes red. Like the whole physical body reaction is pretty unreal. It's a pretty unrealistic as well. Like sometimes it's not even a big deal, but I just make it into a big deal. And that is something that I've always struggled with. Speaking up, telling people, what I think, things like that when I feel like they're wrong or when the situation is not a good situation and I need to stand up for myself, things like that. I've always, always, always struggled with, and I'm trying to get better at that, but that is something that I think I will always struggle with to some degree. The seventh thing that I'm afraid to tell you is that I really dislike huge events. Going to like big parties or big group gatherings or like networking events, things like that, where I'm forced to talk to people and come up with conversation topics and points and questions and things like that off the cuff, I get really, really stressed about. I would rather just kind of have small gatherings of like 3-4 people, have an intimate dinner, talk like that. But even in those settings, I always look forward to coming home and being by myself at the end of the night. It's super exhausting for me to be able to kind of be an extrovert in those situations and kind of be higher energy type thing. Yeah, that one's always been a struggle for me. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but it's just always something that I prefer to kind of hermitize at home. I like me time. So this time right now with COVID, even though it is a difficult time, I have been enjoying the quality time with me that I've been having, even if it is just sitting on my butt. The eighth thing that I'm afraid to tell you is I struggle with body image. And I think that it's always something that I've always struggled with even saying, just because I always feel like people are like, well, you're thin, so why would you have any issues? Like, you shouldn't have any issues at all because you're a size 4-6. Like, what's your problem, But I think that no matter the size, I think we all have something about ourselves that we don't like, and it's not okay, but I think that's okay. Like, I don't think you need to be a certain size to have real issues with your body. I think that it happens to all of us, and I don't think it's okay to tell people that because they're thin, they're not allowed to have issues with their body. So my issue has always been with my thighs. And I think it's a story that I took on for myself from my mom. She always had issues with her thighs. She always brought it to the forefront. She always made comments about it. It was a really big deal for her as well. And I always noticed it because of that. And, saddlebags, things like that. Now I can point them out anywhere, left, right, and center, just because they were just so ingrained in me from childhood that they were ugly, like they were, cellulite marks, and like saddlebags and stuff like that were just something that we shouldn't have. And it just made you look bad, things like that. So now, even though I am thin, I struggle with my thighs. I do. And they're not perfect, and I'm fully aware of that. And that, it makes it hard sometimes to wear a bathing suit out in public, even though I know I'm okay to wear it. It's just, I think it's a mental thing that I need to overcome and just let it be and, work out as best as I can, but just be able to show up as me and be okay with the way that my body is and be grateful for the body that I have and everything that it does for me, and the fact that I'm healthy and whatnot as well. I think I just need to change my perception on that, but that has always been a struggle for me with my thighs. So that is it for today. I'm sure that there will be more episodes down the road like this where I can share more things about myself that I'm afraid to tell you, but I think today that is good enough. So I hope that you guys get to know me a little bit more through this episode. I hope that you guys feel more comfortable sharing what you're afraid to tell anybody or the public in general. But I would love to get to know you guys as well. So let's start being real with each other. If you want to comment on my Instagram post, let me know what you're afraid to tell anyone, or send me a DM and tell me what your fears are. And let's just start showing up as our authentic selves on Instagram. This Instagram reality that I see all the time, where it's just all these pretty pictures and these photographed or these photoshopped pictures of people and stuff like that, and these perfect lives and perfect homes and whatnot is so unrealistic, and it's not real. And I think that it's even more beautiful when we're able to show up as ourselves imperfectly with flaws and all, because I think there's a level of perfection in that in itself. So if you want to connect with me, head on over to Instagram. My handle is Project Love Co. and send me a DM. I love hearing from you guys, but you can also connect with me through my website, www.projectloveco.com, where you can sign up for my love letters, which you definitely want to do that because I will be sharing some exciting news shortly as well. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I hope you guys take some time to invest in yourselves today. I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.